It's January 31st, a little bit after 1:30 last Sunday. So, um, here's what it is. I was kind of hoping to see the Super Bowl. This was special because we got two Purple Knights actually playing against each other. Mr. Tyron Matthews and Leonard Fournette. Hope y'all go forth and conquer. And you know, I don't think it's happenstance that everything is going on at this particular time. So I don't know, possibly maybe if y'all want, you should. Um, I'm saying take a knee, but you need to figure something out because this is a moment that can be seized. I think that it should be. So, but, yeah, man. I've had enough of all of this nonsense of serving a system that does not give a damn about me or people like me, or I mean, just about life in general. And this is my statement. If this isn't something to state that this killing that's going on, especially by the police, which I am, I can't abide by this no more. I'm not having anything to do with this nonsense anymore. Um, Call me what you want. Try to discredit me. I have been a stellar deputy in this 5+ years that I've been there. My last eval's been sent, it's copied to somebody. I can't be discredited. Never so much as one write up for maybe some reports being late. None whatsoever. So it's not. It can't be said that you know, I was a shammer or anything like that, or I wasn't pulling my weight. And just for contextual purposes, I just want y'all to understand what I'm coming from. It's my entire life has been in service of other people, and it's just dawned on me at this time, as of now, it needs to be seized because you don't really give a damn about us. That is the truth. That is the truth. I served with a full heart in the military. After that, got back into law enforcement, and you have no idea how hard it is to put a uniform on in this day and age with everything that's going on. None. And listen, y'all entrust me to safeguard your little ones, your small ones, your thing that's most precious to y'all, and I did that well. Y'all trust me with that. I've had security clearance in the military. That's verifiable. If I was untrustworthy, if I was a threat, would they let me guard the U.S. Embassy in Kabul, which I did. I trained Iraqi police, Afghan national police, and that's not it. But I wouldn't have been put in a position of that if they thought I was a threat. But that has allowed me to see the inner working of things. And this is a demonic system, and it's not anything I can continue to serve and want to be a part of. And this is not right. This is no form of justice. Let's go down the list. Bowfley, shot his own apartment. How that work? How does that work? Chilling on his couch. I don't give a damn if he had weed in the apartment. You're gonna execute somebody for that? Oh no, y'all are good for that. You break up families for a plant. This war on drugs and this nonsense. But oh, now they're starting to get illegal because big pharmaceutical companies stand to make billions off of it, and they paid off the lobbyists, who in turn have started ushering the way it needs to go for them. The countless people who are doing time behind that. How do you even make amends for that? You can't. You can't. This Floyd, Brianna, I'm telling you, it's not. If this feels right to you as a person, there's something is wrong with you. This is the furthest thing from right. This is manner of wickedness that I run. And you're getting away with it. When is enough going to be enough for people? Huh? Seriously. Seriously. Y'all are radicalizing people, and then when they buck and they want to go against the system because it's not for them, you come down on them with a hammer. I can't. I don't understand this. I do not understand this. It's getting to the point now. Let me tell y'all something. Again, I'm gonna go back into it. I'm gonna be wrapping up pretty soon. None of this is happenstance. You understand me? None of this is happenstance at all. If you think it's possible that all of this is happenstance with everything that in this immediate area, no. Pellerin, I don't know all the inner workings of that, but between that and just man, listen, I understand we have a tough job, but we signed up for this. We need help, because it is we deal with the bottom rung of society. It does not give us an excuse to just do whatever we want, and that's what we're doing, and we're not being held accountable, and it's just allowed. Not per se in the environment that I'm in, because I mean I don't do normal police work anymore, but I've done it. Look, I was on duty the night Middlebrook got killed. That's hard enough to process when you hear that call come out. I was posted up in front of True By, setting up a perimeter, and then they called me. Went back to my normal zone, which was south, Youngsville Highway, see the vehicles going by, about to make that notification. Get another call, another murder. All the stuff that took place that night, the guys who were south with me, we got a letter of recognition because we did our job. That was just one night for us. Police officers need mental health because you can't tell me what happened in Milwaukee that should have been caught. That should have been caught. The dude was like an automaton. He didn't have any. It was just completely apathetic. That should have got caught. That is a failure of leadership. It is a systemic thing. Look at it like this. He was the senior most person there. Okay? The freshest person there, the rookie, he was like 2 weeks out of FTO. He's not going to check somebody that's got 10 plus years and say something. He thinks it's the norm. He's just going to go along with it. And that is the indoctrination and everything. It hasn't happened here. It hasn't been around me. But I see how it happens. So all this code of blue solid, no, sorry. I'm gonna be on the right side of this one, and I would rather be considered crazy and whatever they were going to say about me. Oh, he was under the influence of something. No, that is an easy cop out just to say that I am, because that will then allow a dialogue not to be started. It needs to be talked about. This is insane, about to go off the rails, and I don't want. I'm not doing it anymore. Loved my job, loved it, loved every aspect of it. Finally found something I can call my own and made it my own. And but this is bigger than that, and I'm not gonna do that. There's no way I can just be like, oh, okay, it's no big deal. No, this is a very big deal to me. This is a tipping point, and just to continue to think that we can just do what we've been doing and just hit the status quo like that, and people, no, no, none whatsoever. This is wrong. It needs to be resisted against, and you have an obligation and a duty to do that. Because if not, you're complacent. But as I would be complacent if I continue just doing what I am doing and not saying anything. I'm trying to bring things to people's attention, little small things, but it's a system, and I'm a small cog in this whole big machine. But I'm uh, I'm jumping off. no, no. Come with me. there's more good people than bad. Y'all need to figure that shit out real quick because it's the truth. It is the absolute truth. And if y'all ain't got each other's back, then you're gonna continue to divide and conquer and just sow dissension and everything between people who actually probably make me out a good ally. But this whole system, this thing that was built on free slave labor, and there's no way that this can't implode on itself. We can't continue on. You won't even give us reparations. That's the thing about it. Y'all thinking about money. It's about being decent. And people are so busy calling themselves Republicans and Democrats, they don't even just be a decent person anymore. That is sad. This is a sad state of affairs. We're leaving our children, and we're wondering why they're wilding out, trying to have augmentation and reassignments at 7, 8 years old. This is preposterous. Absolutely preposterous. And y'all letting them do it like it's cool. Because you want to be able to get away with shit like, oh, well, if they're doing that. No, I'm not doing that anymore. I'm not doing that anymore. So, with that said, no sense in griping unless you actually have some things that you can think that could probably be fixed. There needs to be more civilian oversight, like an advisory committee. I think they need to have term limits, whether they be appointed or elected, a certain amount of hours for being in a ride-along required, scenario familiarization, put them through scenarios, because the general public doesn't know what we go through. This is it. That night I described to you, that was a bad night. That was a bad night. Just to carry on this, but I processed it. Police officers are exposed to the debris in the bottom rung of society, and then they're expected to keep a stiff chin. Like, it's not affecting it. It is affecting your psyche. I'm telling you, you cannot be exposed to that and not expect it to manifest itself in some way. Nobody calls the police when they're having a good day. It's the truth, right? Domestics got robbed, something like that. Something you need somebody in their uniform. Your bad day, that might be the first call of my shift that I'm about to have another maybe half dozen of those. And I'm lucky if they're not as severe as this one. Might be worse. Anyway, so I think it needs to be along with this committee, they need to have standardized training, whether that be an abbreviated type of academy, but they need to be familiar with procedures, and they need to be familiar with statutes as per a specific state. But this is what I'm saying, like this needs to happen. It needs to almost be based like how everybody was doing their own thing for training before the San Jose model came out. It needs to be structured like that, and it needs to be recognized accordingly, like across the board. Mental health and wellness, they definitely need that. Look, we need, I don't know how you're gonna do it. We get one. People get one psyche valve or just checkup. And that's in the hiring process. And some people have squeaked through, because I know some cops that should not be cops, honestly. They just, I don't think they have the makeup for it. And you're gonna say, oh, he did. No. This not even night and day. Whether it be, I don't think annual is good because a lot can happen a year, whether it be semi-annual or quarterly. It needs to happen. And it's in the stigma that is surrounding it needs to be lifted to, because that is insane. We need help. People need help. It's okay to say you need help. You get exposed to a lot going through life. But life matters. That's it. You get exposed to a lot. I understand it. I've been exposed to a lot. Peer evaluations, and that's not something as far as the along the lines of like trying to like be vindictive, but kind of the anonymous red card, blue card thing like we had in going through the section. More transparency. I understand certain things can't be divulged, but the public doesn't trust us. We're losing the public's trust. We're losing the public's trust. We serve at the pleasure of the public. You lose that, you lose your right and authority to govern. And that is happening. You can't do wicked stuff and be like, okay, well, cool, we're just doing our jobs. Who are you doing your job for? That's not doing your job. That's a cop-out. That is a cop-out. This is something for me. I thought would be better just to add in development expansion of like an explorer type programming. I know they've had it before, but um, kids say they want to be cops, but I mean we're not giving them a reason to do it, and we need to foster more mentorship, and it needs to be like more of some kind of a program to help kids stay on the scare straight. Let's bring that back. Let them see what it's like, but also give them a healthy option. Just get them out and just like get them out of their normal hoods or whatever it is. They don't know what else is out there. What we're showing them is the only option we're giving in. Then what do you expect? Listen, I'm wrapping it up because I've rambled way too long. I didn't even touch on half the stuff I wanted to, but yeah, this needs to stop. This needs to stop. This is my protest against police brutality and everything else that comes along with it in this broken, wicked, worldly system that does not give a damn about people. I don't know what it cares about, but it don't care about us. It truly don't. It does not. It does not. So I hope y'all do something with that. And let it not have, no. There's no way that this and the people who are have been in touch with me this past week and all this stuff. It has been confirmation that this is. I mean, it can. There's no other way that this is possibly supposed to not happen. It is. It was preordained for this to happen. Regardless of what you may think, that's on you. I know what I gotta do. Search your heart, find out what you gotta do. Everybody has a different role to play. This part, this one, this is mine.
I wish he hadn't done that. I really wish he hadn't. You know, I wish he hadn't. Because he was hitting all the right points, and he was hitting all the right points, man. I didn't agree with the Brianna situation. I didn't, because that was her choices. She died because she chose to be involved with a drug dealer. That's basically it. She chose to mess around with drug dealers, not one but two. Okay, she messed around with Jamarcus Glover, even though after they broke up, and she messed around with Kenneth Walker, the guy who jumped out the way when the bullets were flying in her apartment, and those bullets ended up hitting her instead. Kenneth Walker was also a drug dealer, and he was selling pills to waitresses at Hooters. And he was going to rob somebody for $25,000, paid to rob somebody. You could look that up on the dailymail.com, and you can see the text messages that were exposed from his phone. That's the only thing I don't agree with, because Brianna did that to herself, dating drug dealers. And many black women from the hood, from the black community who date drug dealers, that usually ends up being their fate. Dead, kids taken away from them, or they spend a lengthy prison sentence. That's just honest to God truth. People are going to get mad at me when I say that, but truth. That's it. It's the truth. You can't deny it, because many of you have relatives who've lived that life of the fast street life, the drug life, and then they end up dead, or they become a single mother, or they end up having their kids taken away, put into social services, and they're spending a very long time in prison. Not because of white people, because of their choices and who the men they chose to be with, sleep with, and let them impregnate them. Those are the facts. Cold, hard, don't give a damn about your feelings. Facts. Okay? It's just how it is. In video posted before his death, Lafayette Sheriff's deputy called for police reform. And he's right. He is so right. Okay. Clyde Kerr III would have given the shirt off his back to anyone who needed it or who would have stopped what he was doing to lend a hand, his friend Jermaine Salmon said. Kerr had always had a plan, was on time, and was always had something positive to say. The son of a renowned jazz musician, Clyde Kerr II, Kerr grew up in New Orleans and had attended the all-boys St. Augustine High School. He moved to Lafayette to attend the University of Louisiana, where he studied criminal justice before joining the Army when he was 25. He lived to serve others. When Kerr and Salmon were deployed in Iraq, they had a day off. Kerr had talked a big game about his cooking skills. He was methodical when he cooked, perfecting recipes and sharing his food with others. In his later years, he aspired to open a food truck one day. Kerr and another person went to the dining facility and grabbed burgers, ribs, and any other meat they could find. He then spent the day barbecuing for about 200 people. It's supposed to be his day off, and he's just grills for everybody, Salmon said. And he put his money where his mouth is. Kerr died by suicide in Lafayette Parish Sheriff's Office patrol car on Monday outside the sheriff's office. His death caught Salmon off guard, who learned about it from a Facebook group chat filled with people who served in their unit. Damn. This is my protest. Salmon saw Kerr in June while passing through on a car trip from Florida to Arizona. They went to a sports bar, caught up, and joked. The father of two boys, known by his close friends as Rudy, loved to laugh and was witty. He and other friends talked about making the trip to Florida to visit Salmon. Kerr had also told Salmon he was thinking about leaving the sheriff's office where he had been employed since June 2015. Concerned about the protest sparked after the police killings of black people, Kerr told Salmon he would change out of his uniform after work to avoid dirty looks from strangers. Smart man. He talked about how difficult it was to be a black law enforcement officer, but Kerr loved his work as a school's resource officer and the children he felt he could positively impact. Now, this is what I'm talking about, man. He was a model police officer. I wish most police officers could be like him. He would have done anything to protect those students who he called his kids, and often would go out of his way to help any child he saw struggling. The morning of his death, the 43-year-old posted 3 videos to YouTube. 2 of the videos appear to have been removed. In them, he said they were filmed in the days leading up to Monday. Kerr said that only life matters, but he felt for a week that this was something he had to do, and it had to be dramatic and bold. The heaviness of being a black deputy who supported law enforcement, but he cried police brutality were on him. I could imagine, man. You're dealing in the locker room, you could deal with some white racist police officers. Not saying all police officers who are white are racist, but you got them in those police law enforcement agencies and even in the military. I mean, the LA Sheriff Deputy Department, they have a problem with 3 racist white supremacist gangs: the Jump Out Boys, the Banditos, and the Executioners. All white. All right. They harass even black fellow deputy officers. They harass and brutalize and even kill minority suspects. Okay. They chase one down. Okay. They put a baton in his eye. Okay. If they want to frame you for murder, they'll have a spare gun. They call it a ghost gun because there was no gun on the suspect. So they just plant a gun so they have an excuse to use brutality on the suspect. So he's talking the truth. I can imagine how it wore on him. This is my protest against police brutality and everything that comes along with it. In this broken, wicked, worldly system that does not give a damn about people, he said in one of the videos, all this code of the blue silence, no, I'm going to be on the right side of this one. And he's right. There is a blue code of silence. Okay. There was a woman who is fighting like hell now to get her benefits because she prevented her white fellow cop from choking to death a black suspect. And they kicked her off the force years ago. Now she's fighting for her ability to get her benefits back. Okay, I believe she's on Democracy Now! Okay, it was long ago. I did a live stream on that. You can check it out. I think it happened in Buffalo. Black female police officer jumped on the back of white male co-worker police officer who tried to choke out a black suspect. He sits in a tan jacket with green shirt poking out underneath. He mentions George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, Trayvon Pillon's deaths. All three were killed by police, and their deaths sparked protests with calls for police reform and accountability. If this feels right to you as a person, then something is wrong with you. This is the furthest thing from right, Kerr said. When is enough going to be enough for people? Speaking the truth, man, he's just preaching right now. What Kerr wanted to see in change in law enforcement. In one of the videos, Kerr lays out what he hopes will change with law enforcement. He says there needs to be a civilian oversight advisory committee and that its members need to have term limits and go through training that helps them understand what law enforcement faces. He calls for standardized training and for officers to be trained on state statutes. Kerr recommends anonymous peer evaluation for officers. He also said there needs to be more transparency. The public doesn't trust us. We're losing the public's trust. He said, you lose that, you lose your right and authority to govern. Mental health and law enforcement. One of the points Kerr addressed needed to change in law enforcement was different approach to mental health. He wanted psychological evaluations for officers to extend beyond their initial hiring and potentially be conducted 2 or 4 times a year. Police officers are exposed to the debris in the bottom of the rung of society, and then they're expected to keep a stiff chin like it's not affecting them. Exactly. They're not robots. He said you cannot be exposed to that and not expect to manifest itself in some way. Nobody calls police when they're having a good day. Officers are exposed to cumulative stress every shift, said Ian Young, a licensed professional counselor and certified employee assistance professional who works with first-hand responders in Lafayette. Most people go to work and don't expect to fight someone or get shot at, but officers always expect it, he said. That causes them to develop a biological state called hypervigilance. It can cause an officer to feel great on a shift, then drop into a state of almost apathy and make them feel like disengaging when the adrenaline wears off, he said. Many officers don't understand what is going on with them physically and emotionally and begin to believe there is something wrong with them, he said. At this point, they could be taught and understand what is happening with them and how to counterbalance it. This is where mental health professionals can help. Those professionals can help officers deal with trauma they've witnessed or experienced. Young said there are counselors in town who are working to build support for law enforcement officers. But sometimes the stigma of receiving counseling can keep people from accessing it. Young stressed that just because someone receives help don't mean they'll be labeled with mental illness. And counselors can act as an unbiased party where friends and family often can't. For officers, Young said they sometimes tell him their job is to fix problems, and they thought they could fix their own. Through education and training, they begin to realize it's normal to sometimes be great at helping others and get stuck when it's your own problem. No shame in asking for help, he said. The answer is more training, more openness by other officers who have sought out help, and that is how you reduce the stigma. He said officers should read Emotional Survival for Law Enforcement by Dr. Kevin Gilmartin and to lean on their employee assistance programs. He also recommends officers find balance in their life and a purpose in developing a personal life. He felt like he had to do this. I seriously think he didn't. Suicide is not winning. Life is about overcoming things. Life is about winning, overcoming your struggles, And when you commit suicide, you become the loser. You become the quitter. Okay? Life is hard, yes. But when you commit suicide, it's game over. All right? I just want people to know that. Suicide is not the way out. I'll tell you that now. It is not the way out. I don't care how people feel. I don't care if people think I'm offending somebody or offending whoever, the family. No, suicide is not the way out. Suicide hurts people. It's been documented that when people commit suicide, then their loved ones want to commit suicide in the process. It is not helpful. It scars families. It scars loved ones of those who committed suicide. It's damaging mentally. Okay? People even go on prescription drugs because a loved one committed suicide. It's not healthy. It doesn't help anyone. It hurts. Young said deaths like Kerr's are likely not that uncommon, and many people who decide to die by suicide don't tell anyone and show few signs. Some signs may include obvious ones, like if they meet with an attorney to prepare their will and give away personal items, Young said, or they may be less obvious signs, like they fixate on negative subject and seem increasingly more upset by the topic. What a loved one does die by suicide, it's normal to have survivor's guilt, Young said, but they need to know it's not their fault. It is a terrible situation, but Deputy Kerr made a decision and was very clear in the video. He felt like he had to do this. In Kerr's words, to be kind to one another, Young added, that's a way to memorialize him and his life. I just think that suicide was the worst thing he could have done. It is the worst thing he could have done because he had a great voice. He had the points. He had everything. All he had to do was possibly run for city council, run for a government position, and have reforms on both the black community and the police force. And he probably would have made definitely big changes. Of course, he would have to fight off Democratic liberal politicians and fake woke civil rights leaders. Okay, he would have to fight them off and fight off the Republican scumbags too, because there's scumbags in both political parties, Republican and Democrat, two dirty wings of the same dirty bird. He would have a war on his hands. But I think he's just gotten mental help, okay, and then go after on the attack, he would have made a bigger impact. Because when you commit suicide like this, eventually people will move on. Eventually people will forget you. I mean, you memorialize, yeah, but how long does that last compared to a person who actually didn't commit suicide and they fought against the racist ideologies within the law enforcement and the political system? That's all I got to say. All right, if you like the content, like, share, comment, and subscribe. Tell me what you think about this. What are your thoughts on suicide? My think is it's a weak way out, and you don't help people, you hurt people. But let's talk about it. Talk about police brutality. Talk about the deaths of black people due to police. All right. If you like the content, like, share, comment, and subscribe. Later.